everybody. My name's actually Amanda Batista. That's my real name. My pseudonym is Illise Montoya. The story that I'm going to be reading to you is called Eikasia, and it's a fantasy series that I'm posting online for free. Now, some of you might balk at that, but I'm part of a community online which we like to call ourselves Weblit. And what we do is we put our work up there, and we might put it in different forms, different models, but it's essentially what Ms. Hansen was mentioning just now. It's digital publishing. It is independent publishing. We go on Kindle, we go on Amazon, and that is where we put our work out. We basically cut out the publishers and we put our work out that way. Eikasia is a fantasy serial that updates weekly. It's an adventure, it's romance, and yeah, so I'm just going to read to you a piece from Chapter One from the first book called Tributaries, and basically it's narrated in the first person by a girl called Nyx, who is an Illurin, which is a feline shapeshifter, and she's probably the most popular character amidst my readers, and hopefully you guys will see why. The setup prior to the scene that I'm about to read is that Nyx had just been caught trying to steal from a small farming village. She was being chased through the forest when she was cornered with her back to a plateau. So thank you very much, and I would just like to note one last thing, that at the back there are freebies in a black bag that says "Boo!" So if you guys would like to go help yourselves, please do so. We have more information from the website, from the group that basically produces this story called 8th Circle Studios. So thank you very much. I was dead. Dead. Dead, 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 dead. Or on my way to it. Being cleaved in half was synonymous with my demise, I thought. If I were to look up my end like it were an idiom in a scholar's text, I was certain I'd find to be axed, to be chopped, to be hacked, etc. Fear charged through me quick like a viper strike. This was not as I had felt before. That was a stumbling fear, ignorant fear of the consequences. This, however, was fear for my life. Illise, if I had fur, I'd have been a round, ridiculous thing right then. It made me angry too, I was surprised to find. I was cornered by farmers. A fat, thick man who probably never swung that damned axe on his home at home was about to take the sharp edge of it and whack it into my brain. That was unfair. I imagined something a little more dignified. As dignified a way to go as anyone in my position, rueful as it were, could hope to have. Maybe dragged to death by a soldier's horse, or torn to pieces by werewolves, or crushed beneath a glacial avalanche during summer. But to be hacked to death by a peasant over grain and some scared hens? The great oaf in question grinned victoriously amid the folds of his sweaty face. I was surprised he kept pace with the others. He wheezed and rasped as he tensed his arms, prepared to swing down the axe. I stood precariously at the edge of the plateau, aware of the other men that stood behind the fat farmer, blocking my only escape. My last hope, it seemed, was to... But that idea never finished. I sailed through the air, and my wet hair whipped out a trail of rainwater as they spun right over the edge of the plateau. The fat farmer let out a squawk of surprise, as did I. I crashed into the earth at a funny angle, and the breath rushed from my lungs. I tumbled like a rag doll. The slope was so steep that I may as well have been falling through air. I burst through the bushes in an explosion of leaves and felt my limbs clip tree trunks as I continued to roll. Finally, I came to the end of the slope and stopped face down. Ye gods! Everything hurt. My eyes rolled in their sockets, and I tried to focus my gaze to make the world stop spinning. I spat the leaves and dirt out of my mouth and turned my head from the ground, only to see an arrow had been shot through my collar. I stared. It had narrowly missed my neck and had gone completely through the fabric. The force of the arrow hitting must have been what sent me over the edge. Did one of the farmers fire? I tried to move to remove it, but screamed when I found my left shoulder was dislocated. Therians, the species my race belonged to, had a heightened rate of healing, but for this I was going to have to do it myself. With a grimace, I rolled onto my back in the opposite direction the side the arrow was on, and with my other hand, bent my dislocated arm. I laid it on my stomach, then with several quick breaths, shoved my left arm upward at the elbow, using all the strength given to me by the one goddess. It popped back in. No, that wasn't the proper way to do it, in case you're wondering. But I was on my own, with men after me. And at any rate, Therians could take a lot and still walk away fine. But to be honest, the pain still made me want to pass out. Weakly, I snapped the arrow shaft and reached back behind my collar to grab the arrowhead. I stared at it. Pewter. I let my hand fall against my chest. My body felt cold. The damp ground made my clothes wet. My face, hands, and feet itched. They had been slashed and cut, but were already scabbing over. I gazed upward at the forest canopy and imagined what it would be like if the moonlight shined through. Cool, blessed moonlight. I imagined its silver kiss on my weary skin, where I could indulge in the idea that Illise would take pity on her wayward daughter. My eyes started to drift shut. This damp, cold place, where water pelted my sham of a body, was not something I cared to stay conscious of anymore. Then someone lifted me up. My eyes opened blearily. I was thrown over its shoulder, an uncomfortable one that dug into my gut. The feeling made me alert again. I stared down at the ground as it steadily retreated from me. I could hardly believe it. I was going up. My mind took a second to register the grunts coming from the person carrying me. I looked at the back and noted the curves, the criss-and-cross of thick woven strings to the back of the bustier, the tight-fitted leather pants that griped with the movement of determined legs. Was a woman carrying me? Up a tree? I squirmed, suddenly worried I was being spirited away by some lunatic who had drank one too many enchanted potions. My shoulders still hurt, but I didn't want to be in the hands of someone else. My protest turned to all-out struggles when the person didn't release me. Whoever they were only gripped me tighter and said, "Idiot, keep still, I'm saving you." I didn't listen. I took my uninjured arm and struck my elbow hard against the back of the woman's head. She let out a loud hiss. Then she shrugged me off. By that time, we were at least 20 feet up a great old oak. As I fell through the air and saw how far I was from the ground, I thought blithely, wow, she's a fast climber. Then my fall stopped. My body jerked and I winced at the pain that shot through my still injured shoulder. I could feel an iron grip close around my right ankle. I looked up in a daze. Past the length of my body, I could see an auburn-haired woman with wide eyes smirk down at me. She held onto a piece of rope that was tied to a thick branch not far up. "Just kidding," she said. Her voice was melodic and like steel. "Now hold still," the woman continued, "and keep quiet. If you haven't noticed, your friends are coming."
We someday might say we knew her when. Yeah, that was a nice first piece. Thank you. Illise Montoya, but I don't have to tell her again the real name. Our next writer